All right. Let me move this a little closer because I think in the past, let me know if you guys are watching this live. Let me know how the audio is, if it's too loud or not. I can also take off these headphones. I keep forgetting. Um, I wear them by habit because of art casters, and I feel like I don't really have to do that. Um, because of the fact that like I'm not really going to be having guests popping on. I'm going to be working. And what am I going to be working on? I'm going to be working on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, by Lavender Vroman and Joshua Kemble. And so this is a graphic novel. It's a 230-ish page graphic novel that I need to have done in 356 days. And I am working on flat coloring. It's full color. And I'm working on flat coloring page 5. So it's a historical fiction book. So often on these streams, you're going to see me bouncing between 3 different things. I'll be thumbnailing and concepting out pages, breaking it down from the script. I'll be taking those thumbnails and iterating tight roughs from them. And at that point, I'll also be doing a heavy amount of research, probably a lot of it on stream. Just kind of internet research mostly, nothing like super crazy, to try to kind of find out if I can find reference images or anything like that. And then from that point, I'll be going to final, which is kind of what I'm on right now, which is doing final pencil work. And then from there, breaking it down and doing flat colors underneath. I'm using a technique. I wish I could know the original term, but I'm trying to kind of make my pages look more like a tinted drawing, kind of get like more of a Victorian feel, with Victorian edges to the like filigree edges to the panels, and really just kind of get like a dark, mysterious Elizabeth Barrett Browning kind of vibe, to fit and suit the story as we get further in. And right now we're at an establishing shot where we're seeing the Barrett's residence, 50 Wimple Street. And without further ado, we'll get into it. Also, usually at the top, I used to mention my books, and I'll be doing that throughout. I'll probably play trailers when I take breaks during the stream. And if you're curious about the books that I have out currently and ways you can kind of support me, go ahead and look at the show notes below. And if you want to catch these streams live, obviously, like subscribe and all that stuff. But let's get into the art stuff because that's much more fun. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go to my layout. So down here is the script. Since we're not doing a thumbnail or like iterating roughs or anything like that, I'm just having it on the title page. But that's where you'd see sections of the script that I'm working on. And then over here is where I'm going to be working on art. And last stream, we got a little far into it. We started flatting out a city scene, and then we flatted out this horse. So we're getting some progress done. And tonight, my goal is to try to hopefully finish this block, which is going to be quite a challenge because, as we learned yesterday, flatting a cityscape can be a long process. I think so I can get a quick win. I've talked about that before, but when you're working on art, sometimes it's good to like bite off the frog or whatever you want to call it. It's basically like the premise of like start with the hard stuff. But in this case, I think we might actually be better off, for me to kind of moralize myself. I've been working all day as an art director, and I'm doing this late into the night after taking a little nap to kind of retain my basically just make sure I don't burn out. And in order to kind of feel jazzed about the project, I want to have a quick win. So I think what we're going to do first for color is we're going to color the back of this horse carriage. So we'll have a quick win at the very beginning of the stream. And if you guys are watching the stream, again, like if my voice is too loud and the mic's a little too close, let me know and I can move it away. But otherwise, I'll just kind of assume you can hear me okay and the audio is all working out. And we'll go from there. Also, let me know what you guys are working on. It's always fun to kind of find out. Okay, so let's get into it. So we have this page that's going to introduce Robert very vaguely as he's veiled in shadow. And we're basically just going to get into it. So I am going to select my area that I want to fill. I'm using the polygonal lasso tool. This thing is great for just making wide, broad selections. Sometimes I'll use the lasso tool. If this were open line art that didn't have rendering attached to it, like it does, actually, there's a few things I forgot to do. Just jumping the gun. All right, we're gonna go on our color flats layer. Okay, and I'm going to be flatting something that I know is not in this section. So we're reducing that. I know it's not in this section. And let's get a little closer to this wheel thing. All right. I almost started working additively, and I try not to do that. I try to work reductively. It just works better for me. That's kind of a technique that I like to do. So today was a pretty good day. I had an excellent day at work, kind of drawing some stuff, and I enjoy doing that. I feel really, I kind of talked about this before, but it's really a lucky and fortunate thing. Anyone who's blessed and fortunate enough to do creative work for a living, it's a good thing to be able to do. It's a fun way to make a living. And I don't know, for some reason today I really appreciated that. Getting to kind of stretch my creativity at my day job is a fun thing. We're doing a lot of fun stuff that I can't talk about too much. I try not to talk too much about um my career on these streams because I want them to be focused on kind of these passion projects that I do, these graphic novels and things like that. Mainly because it's also like there's less legal ramifications for anything that I might say on stream regarding it. And I definitely, even just because I mentioned where I work, I should mention I'm not a representative of where I work. Gary just said good evening. Good evening, Gary. How's Dinosaurs versus Marsbots coming along, buddy? Gary Hodges of Dinosaurs versus Marsbots has a live stream on Saturdays that I broadly am looking forward to watching. Okay. I have the coffee going. And generally on these streams, I'm pretty much going to go until about 2 in the morning. That seems to be my good cutoff time on like how far I can push without without kind of having to recover too much the next day. All right, so again, I want a quick win here. Gary, do you find that too? Sometimes I find that like if I'm gonna start a project to get in the zone, sometimes it's better to just get into the hard part instantly. But I am finding that picking something that I can really quickly accomplish, um, and get like a quick win at the beginning can kind of set my morale for the rest of the session. It's funny, that's something you think about, like in a workplace when you're dealing with like employees and stuff like that. But I think a lot of the time, I've mentioned this before on stream, but I do think as artists, it's good for us to monitor like how our own morale is on the jobs that we're giving ourselves. Um, Gary said, still chipping away on page 9. Page 9, dude, that's a good way to go. Um, and then Philip said, I guess I should say hi. I've been listening for almost 10 minutes. How's the audio? Is the audio okay, you guys? Is it too loud? And then Frank stopped by to say hi, and he's going to bed soon. That's cool. So, are we like your bedtime story, Frank? If so, that's pretty awesome. Maybe we can generate a real quick bedtime story for Frank on the stream. Gary said, I don't really shoot for quick wins, but I do try to come up with some achievable goal for the sitting. I like to get the backgrounds on this page or whatever. Okay, Frank said audio's good. Philip said audio's good. Good, good. So let's see. We need a bedtime story here for Frank. I wonder if that has any legs to go anywhere. Once upon a time, there was a young cartoonist who decided they were done with cartooning and instead went into politics. I I don't know if I've told you guys this. That little rant of mine for a second there reminds me of like there was a when I was young, and this is like that phase of life where you're kind of like thinking of being what you become. Like I was sort of gone through a phase where I thought that hang on a sec, get this flatted out here. Um, where I thought that I was definitely going to be a cartoonist, but I also was at a point in my life where I probably wasn't ready to actually be a cartoonist. And this is sort of in the just to set the stage, I guess it's like pre-YouTube era. So it's not like you had like a way to kind of look at like a professional artist online and kind of like go, oh, okay, this is what they say you should do or how you start or whatever. So anyhow, I used to come up with these random ideas, and this ties in a little bit with something I was talking about on stream yesterday in a very like negative way because I was ranting. But I was kind of talking about how back when I used to do t-shirts, how people would kind of come up to you with an idea and they'd be like, I came up with an idea. Like this is so valuable. And I used to be like that as well. I used to think these ideas in general, an uniterated or unrealized idea had like a ton of value. And so I would come up with plots with like friends. And I think this is pretty normal for like a writer, where you kind of like iterate like a plot idea. Um, we're going to be doing dual duty here, guys. Dual duty. So anyhow, I had like one of the plots that we were thinking would be fun, and I think at this time we might have been also considering like doing film or something like that. But it was like this is an era in time where there was a common movie plot at the time. It was like a movie trope of where it would be like the popular dude at a high school or something or a college would like meet this like unpopular girl and then sort of like do like a Cinderella story type thing where they'd turn that person into a popular person. And And then it would be like these romantic comedies. They just came out like almost it felt like there was a period of time, and if any of you guys remember this period of time, let me know, but it's like it's like, late '90s, basically. This is when I was really young, like mid to late '90s. So there was this movie trope, where it was like the pretty in pink kind of story. And we were thinking it would be fun to do like that, but like the reverse, where it's like um these really unpopular people decide to take a popular person and turn them into a cultured, literate, like nerdy um outcast, basically. And then it's like a reverse Cinderella story where it's like, oh, okay, this is where like people are more real. Keep in mind at the time, like that was a plot we were developing um, as like teenagers or whatever. But along those lines, we also had another story that I think I even wrote some script for. I'll have to dig around and see if I can find some of these old scripts. I used to write like movie scripts when I was in high school and comics and stuff like that. But none of it ever saw the light of day, right? It was kind of that era of like young creativity where you have this creative desire to make stuff, but you're not really sure where or how to do it. Nor do you necessarily want to. You're kind of, at least for me at that point in my life, I think I was pretty content with just sort of assuming that that was who I was rather than making um, making my reality or whatever. Anyhow, so I had this other script idea, and it was basically just like two, again, very like veiled autobio stuff, but it was two young people deciding to take over the entire country. Um, by sort of like selling a political system they didn't even believe in. I still think that could have some legs for a story where you could have almost like two people intentionally. It wouldn't have to be two people, but it'd be fun if it was like two main characters that are relatively young and they do some reading on like political science and stuff like that, and then they decide like they're just going to nefariously start a political party and a political movement and stuff like that just for kind of the laughs. um I still think that could have legs. The idea being, they would like start something that was supposed to be like a movement for the people, and of course it would be like a self-profit kind of motive. um and you could follow like the whole hustle, like how they're sort of like a wag the dog type movie, but like, like a teen drama or like a early 20s drama or something like that. Yeah, I have no idea what made me think of that. I think it was the idea of, oh, I think that was part of the plot, was the idea that these would be artists who just got kind of annoyed with the art game, so they decided to kind of do like starting a political party as like a performance art kind of piece. I have no idea if that would have any legs. Did you guys ever have, I'm sure you guys had like abandoned scripts and ideas and plots. I had another script. I'm just going to talk about old scripts for a little bit. If you guys want to switch gears while I'm flatting these windows, feel free to let me know. But for me, I'm kind of enjoying the process here, kind of thinking through that. I had a plot called 50 Count, and that was just like a straight up like Tarantino style, just like hitman story. And the premise, the reason I titled it that was that I was like, okay, 50 people in this story are gonna die. Like, It was just like that was kind of the writing challenge of it, and then that would be kind of the suspense as you're kind of reading it. You'd be like, "Is this one of the characters that's gonna be in that count?" But that was a very, like, again, like, I think I was, like, probably, like, 15 or something, but that was, like, a premise where there were, like, hitmen that sort of, like, are a Bonnie and Clyde type couple, and they're trying to kinda get out of their situation, of, like, being hitmen for, like, a local, like, small time kinda mob, and then basically, in the process, they have to, they're kind of prepping to leave. This is like the intro to the story. I still remember it slightly vividly. And also because this was written by like a 15-year-old, of course, every other word was like the F word. It was just like, it's a phase I actually always say, like there's this in California at least. And I don't know, maybe you guys can attest to whether this is just California, but it's like I feel like junior high boys used to have a stage that I would call like the Tarantino stage, where they talk as if they're in a Quentin Tarantino movie. And not even one of the newer ones, like, I'm talking, like, they talk as if they're characters in Reservoir Dogs, like, which I think in early Tarantino films, like, they would kinda improv, but instead of saying, they'd just say the F word to kinda fill time and think of, like, what the next line would be. Although, from what I gathered, those were a little more scripted out than they seemed. Anyhow, my point is, I always used to say everybody had like a Tarantino face. So anyhow, you have these young kind of hit people trying to get out of the mob. They're getting ready to get out. It's like a almost like a one room play sort of scenario at the very beginning, because it all takes place as they're packing, they're getting ready to leave, and then they get a knock on the door. They open the door, and there's a guy who like reaches into, like, he's in a suit, and he reaches into like the inner pocket of his suit and menacingly. So they think he's like a hitman, like reaching for a gun. They kill him, and then they find that he is not a hitman. He's like a religious person who's coming by to kind of like hand them a pamphlet or something. And so they're like, "Oh crap!" Like, so it kind of the whole thing. I had just read, this is again when I was like 15, so I was just learning about farce, and I realized that that was one of my favorite styles, and still actually to this day as an adult, I still really enjoy farce as like a situation comedy. It's why I like Curb Your Enthusiasm and stuff like that. So it kind of has this whole farcical quality of like everybody's scrambling around. They have a body they have to get rid of. Um, they're trying to kind of figure out how they're going to get out of the mob. They end up like stuck in this apartment as like just things escalate and proceed to get stranger and stranger. Um, and it's all sort of like from a skewed perspective, like forgivable mistakes that you watch these these you watch these main characters kind of dig themselves deeper and deeper into a more and more untenable situation that all kind of spirals out of control, when they're trying to make like a choice, because they like for moral reasons, like they're morally objecting to what they've been doing for many years. And so that was a plot. Gary said, I have a third finished fantasy novel and 3 to 4 partially done scripts. Yeah. So that's part of why I think what I was talking about yesterday about ideas. Now, I don't want to berate ideas. I feel like maybe yesterday that's what it sounded like I was doing. I think ideas are a sort of like cool, almost like slightly supernatural part of any process. Like, uh, like, I don't know, if you're a mathematician and you're doing math, um, that's relatively like rote, I guess. Like, I guess there's creative forms of math, and I'm not going to be able to speak well on it, but it's like, I do think a lot of it's probably like very like drudgery, you know? It's like the point in time where you're flatting a page, where you're just kind of making selections. You have these brief creative moments, you know, where you're like, okay, I got to actually choose the color. But other than that, it's just like I'm literally like playing a video game where you draw boxes, you know. Um anyhow, where was I? Oh yeah. So there is this point in any process, and especially in art, where you kind of reach out into the ether. Like there's this realm, um, and that's the creative realm where you can. It's like this weird capacity of human beings, and I think it's a really cool capacity where we can take something that doesn't exist yet, and we can imagine it and start working it out and start theorizing and making it real. And that's a pretty darn cool thing that human beings uniquely can do. Where it's like you can take an idea of it's like an improv session or something, but like with writing, you know, and not run by your friend in LA who's taking an improv class and kind of drags you with them to it. And then you're like, oh, this is terrible. It can be like a really fun, amazing thing. And I think even iterating ideas or like building a script or building a story is a really kind of cool experience. Like that sort of ability to even describing that story I wrote a long time ago when I was a kid. I get it. There's a slight part of me that gets a little excited about it and wants to at some point maybe make it a real thing. Um, because I can just already from that premise, like it's a silly premise, but it's like that's actually a pretty decent beginning premise for a farce. And it could be really, I mean, it would be a really violent book, but it would be a really fun book to write, right? And so I don't want to pull away from the power of that or the importance of that with creativity because I do think there's value in that. But tying into what I was saying, I also think sometimes we can kind of overvalue the part of the process that's somewhat fun um, at the cost of like the part of the process that makes those ideas and those concepts in that riffing stage where you're sort of like I don't know, let's say you're a comedian, you're working out bits with a friend and you're kind of joking around and formulating ideas. It's like that stage where it goes from a writer's room to a script. um, I think that's one of the most important stages for making these fun, crazy, magical ideas like a reality. So you take like kind of an absurd thing that like, you know, I don't know, like Gary's script is a good example of this. Like dinosaurs versus Mars bots. Um, and I don't think Gary would be offended if I said that premise alone, I mean, I love Martians and I love dinosaurs, but like alone, I don't think the premise itself, just those words, is what makes Gary's script so fun. It's like the building it out from there, where Gary did the kind of improv thing of like, and Gary, I'm just going to speak for you. So obviously, if I'm speaking wrong, let me know. But it's like, I think that point where you went from a premise that's relatively silly, and then you were like, well, what if I did it like serious? Like, what if I took this like crazy premise and then was like, how do I make this completely believable? But still commit to like the absurd within the initial premise, you know? And I think that's where you end up in that territory of like, then sitting down and doing the real work and making it a real thing. Um, Otherwise, it's kind of still floating in that magical idea stage where I think I think that might be the part where I'm not an elitist. Like I don't know if creatives are the only people who have access to that realm. I've talked to plenty of people who can take like a hypothetical idea and go, well, what if this happened? And then what if this happened? you watch them like start unlocking that creative like riffing, um, and you can see we all kind of most human beings have that. The difference between that and like I think the kind of creatives that I was like touting on the last thing, the last live stream or whatever was the idea that like the thing that kind of separates the wheat from the chaff um, with creatives that make those things a reality is that extra stage of like, okay, but like seriously, how am I going to actually make this? Like, what is this going to look like in final form? What if I took it seriously and then taking that extra step to kind of do all the boring iterative stuff too. Been trying to do this in tandem, two at a time, since it's about the same angle to save some time, guys. But I've made a mistake here because I've missed a few of the steps that I took on the other page. Okay. So anyhow, does any of that make sense, or does that just sound like mumbo jumbo? So we're basically going through and deselecting some flat colors and then kind of just talking about that iterative process, that kind of point where you take the magic and then you make it the real magic, to be corny. Like the part of the magic of making stories. That's going to be the title of this stream. Gary was saying ideas are sort of boundless. They're fun because of the potential and possibility, but doing a thing means making choices when when you close off possibilities. And for some, that's not as fun, so they stop at the idea stage. Exactly. So I think Gary much more articulately spelled out what I'm trying to kind of communicate here. You know what I'm trying to communicate, Gary. But that still doesn't mean some of those ideas, for plays and stuff like that, that I had like even in high school might not become stories. Probably not for a while, because my next year is this book. And then the year after that is probably wrapping up Two Stories Book 2, because I absolutely have to finish that story. I was really close too this year. I'm a good like 26 pages into it. And all the prep work and pre-work is done on it. So I will be excited. And the neat thing about this is I think this book might actually be that like fire reigniting thing, because I'm really enjoying this book as it goes. But I think by the time I'm like done with this, I'll be aching to work on first off, like a black and white book again. And then second off, like definitely finishing a story that is already fully formed and concluded and stuff. Um, and all the thumbnails are just there for the taking. Just kind of a cool place to be. Okay. But I still have to say, like, I do think that idea stage is a fun stage, and it shouldn't be like, I don't want to make it like I undervalue that, because that idea stage is so valuable and so cool. And I think reminds us of the capacity we have that we seem to be able to unlock really easily as kids. And as we get to like adulthood, it becomes harder and harder to kind of access. Um, like if you talk to a kid and you're like, can you imagine this? Like you throw them a crazy premise. A lot of the time they can take like a nutty premise and then follow it through with like logical steps, like, oh yeah, if that happened, then this would happen. Like, yeah, exactly. That thing that we all have is so valuable and cool. And I think that is one of the funnest things that makes it a joy to take that kind of absurd thing that was floating out in the ether and then make it a reality. It's one of the reasons I was really excited about this particular graphic novel. About the Brownings is like there's a history here that hasn't been told correctly, and even the way that people have depicted Elizabeth Barrett Browning, it just from all accounts does not seem to it's not that it's like completely off, but there hasn't been anybody who's like really depicted what the history looks like she was actually like. So it's like it was really exciting for me to read this script and be like, holy crap, like this is an opportunity to tell like kind of an untold story that history told, but like has gotten lost a little bit in the narrative, and sort of like reframe the story. All right. So we're getting there, you guys. We're getting there. And I think this is going to make a little bit more speed than the last one because I don't really have any color decisions to make. I might have a few, but for these backgrounds, it's basically just going to be like, here's my colors. This is like paint by number at this point. Which again, I feel like the fun thing about the indie comics route where you're kind of doing everything in the process, you grow to appreciate different phases. I was going to do this all in bulk, like bulking it where I do all the thumbnails and all the roughs and stuff like that. But I realized really early in the process as we were doing some research streams that section of it, like breaking it down from script, requires so much focus and so much like thinking about like the history of it and getting lost in the history of it and going down these kind of rabbit holes that I feel like if I had to do that for like 10 pages straight, I might start taking shortcuts, right? And not doing it correctly. So I thought, okay, it's going to be better to kind of alternate stages on this particular project. So like rough out a few pages, do all that historical research, thumbnail, rough, and do all that historical research. And then from there, pencil and finish pages, because then every phase of this process, like right now while I'm flatting, it's great because after this, I don't have to flat another page. I actually get to probably go into penciling the next page. Or if the penciling isn't feeling good, then I can thumbnail a page, right? So I have a little option and variety in it that I think will carry me through and possibly bypass the what is it, task switching penalty that Corey Kerr always very eloquently talks about. So that makes the project fun because I'm like, okay, even this stage that could get relatively tedious if I had to do it just nonstop, and honestly might not make for like the most exciting streams. Like, I think the fun thing about watching these streams is going to be a little bit of that too, where you're going to see a lot of variety in the stuff I'm doing on these, At least I hope. So let's see. Frank, what are you working on before you crash? Are you all caught up on art stuff? And then similarly, Philip, how's your book coming, buddy? I believe Philip's working on a. Am I wrong, Philip? I thought you were saying you were working on a kid's book, which I'm kind of excited. Curious how the products or the project's going. Did I say product? Man. So Gary's on page 9 though. That's pretty good progress, dude. I feel like one other thing that really encourages me, and I don't know if you get this too, Gary. Um it I love the idea um that like there's a group of people like working really hard to knock out comic pages. So like right now while I'm flatting, there's somebody out there flatting their comic as well. It's like, I don't know. I guess it's corny and stuff, but it's kind of like the joy of knowing that like, there's other people in it. Kind of makes you feel more like it's a team effort. At least it does for me. Um I had to go backwards here, kind of correct that. Okay. There we go. I had missed a little bit of this flat. And I'm stepping ahead. I need to be bouncing back and forth. Gary said it helps me focus when I see you on here. That's awesome. Yeah, it helps me focus seeing folks in the chats. Oh, and then Gary said the amazing new Wet Leg album is also helping him focus. Dude, it's I was playing it this weekend. Yeah, they're great. It's a real, I don't know. I feel personally, and maybe I'm overblowing it, but I feel like that band touches on something. I It's like a sound that is familiar but not gimmicky. Um Definitely has 90s vibes to it, but it doesn't feel like some parody of a 90s band. It just has like a rawness. Um yeah, I'm trying to think about what it is about that band. It's also simple. It's like they're very talented, but they're also not like they're not doing crazy. It's got a bit of a Pixies intelligence to the way they're crafting the songs because there's a lot of looping leads, like Joey Santiago-ish. Actually, now that I'm thinking of the Pixies, it's not bad as like a starting point. Um it's nothing like the Pixies, but the structure is like the Pixies. Like there's a lot of surf influence in the way the guitars work. But then the fun thing is it also has this like Britpop driving drum thing, like drum and bass like really just constantly moving steadily. Um but then again like simplicity in the structure. So it's like it's very much like verse, chorus, possibly breakdown. If there is a breakdown, it's not going to be like some ridiculous flashy lead. And then back to it. It kind of, I'm going to keep trying to kind of iterate what I like about it. Gary just, okay. So, oh, what do we have here? Philip said, I'm still plugging away at it. I've been doing some designs of the main characters, but I'm also writing it. So I need to work on the actual story. I love it. And then Gary said, yeah, it's so good, right? I was thinking the exact same thing. It reminds me a lot of my favorite music and bands, but it doesn't feel like a ripoff. And it's fun and catchy. And it's also like a 35-minute album. It's in and out. Yeah, yeah. Hints of the Foo Fighters, hints of Britpop, hints of old punky stuff and surfer rock. Yeah, exactly. You know what? It also kind of this might be a stretch, but it reminds me of when Weezer was good. Because it's got like I feel like I feel bad if people are really into like modern Weezer, but I think even people who are into like modern Weezer would acknowledge that like they're not quite this might be snobby. I don't know. I get a little snobby with music. I think you're allowed to. Again, I guess I'll preface this with music is an individual taste thing. So of course I'm just talking about my own taste. So if these are bands you like, then great. You like those bands. Hey, I listen to Tom Jones for goodness sake. Like, and I enjoy it. Like I that was something that started ironically, and I actually really dig Tom Jones. So, if any of my takes are off when I'm talking about music, just be like, this dude, like, non-ironically likes It's Not Unusual, so I don't know, I'm gonna not listen to what he says, right? But anyhow, that being said, I think even people who like modern Weezer know they're just not firing, like, on the same level of, like, brilliance that they were with, like, the Blue Album or, like, Pinkerton, where it was, like, just making this different thing, that just hadn't been done, you know? But, yeah, it kinda reminds me of that. It's got that vibe. Also, I do like that it's fun. It's nice to have good, fun pop music that's not terrible and stupid. Anyhow, so yeah, if you guys are out there and bored, you should check out Wet Leg. I think you'll dig them. The other thing is very talented people. Um, like the singer's got like a killer voice, but also the two singers, but the main singer, she has like a really unusual voice, so she'll rock some kind of Karen O type stuff. Again, another like early Karen O type stuff. There's definitely hints of like Ida Maria or like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Like that's where I think a lot of the punk comes from actually is like the vocal like choices where she'll sort of like sing something in a note that's a lot higher than you would have expected or lower. There's a lot of playfulness to the crafting of the songs. Now I'm just going to compare them to everything because Gary, now that and keep in mind, this is fresh on my mind because the album came out like a couple days ago, but it also kind of roughly reminds me of a little bit of the Violent Femmes in the playfulness of it. And I freaking love the Violent Femmes. I feel like that's a band that didn't. I know they had some radio hits and stuff, but I actually feel like, especially that first Violent Femmes, I don't know. I feel like sometimes that's an underrated band. Okay, that was me pouring over wet leg. So, thank you, Gary, for giving me the opportunity to articulate that and talk about it out loud. But yeah, I've been digging the band. I think I'm the most excited. Gary, if you like them, you'd probably like the Cloud Nothings. So I'm gonna recommend that to you, sir. That I feel like in the last few years, those are kind of the bands I've been the most excited about. Cloud Nothings is a pretty old album now, but there's an album called Attack on Memory that I think um that's on just like pure punk and rock and roll. And then I think, let's see, to get somebody who's a music geek into that, let me see. Um, okay, Cloud Nothings. One of the reasons to like the Cloud Nothings is there's this producer named. See, now I'm wondering. I'm gonna have to Google this to make sure I'm right about it, but I think that it's Steve Albini, who is a legendary producer, right? Um, and he doesn't produce a lot of bands, and I think the Cloud Nothings was one of the bands where he was like, for like nothing, just kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna produce your album. Like, and then was Attack on Memory, which is it's like you hear it and you're like, oh, that's why Albini like picked this because it's like it's good. Um, I'm less of a music. I used to be a real big music snob. um, And believe it or not, even though I'm rambling, like, this is, like, the tone that I'm much more toned back about it and less judgy about music than I used to be. Um, I used to be one of those dudes who, like, I would judge people by their CD collections, and it's not necessarily the best place to be. The other thing is you get older and you start realizing how wrong some of your, like, hot takes were about music. Um, an example I always like to use is, man, well, I guess this is why I write autobio stuff. Is like I don't mind talking about um, elements of my personality when I was younger that make me sound like an asshole. um, but there was a point, where when I was really young, again like a teenager, and I'm writing my little pseudo Tarantino scripts and stuff, where I like would claim to hate Led Zeppelin. I was just like, this is a stupid band and stuff. And I was really judgmental. And in reality, I hadn't really I think I had heard like Stairway to Heaven, and I think that was the only Zeppelin I had heard. And I wasn't alone on this. Like I was in a band and we were all very cocky, judgy people. and oh, hold on like 3 seconds while I get this sort of worked out here. Okay. Do I have that round-ish building front worked out? Okay, it's gonna be yes. Okay. We're getting there, guys. Um, so anyhow, like I would just rail against this band and my band members because like I was in a band at the time and we'd like just collectively talk so much crap on Zeppelin. Um, it's just like, ugh, this is stupid hippie music, that kind of thing. And in reality, we really hadn't heard Zeppelin. We were just young kids who were trying to have a hot take. And most of my judgment of Zeppelin actually came from like the high school I went to, where just like the guys who wore Zeppelin shirts were the same guys who wore Grateful Dead shirts. And like I had heard the Dead and I wasn't like a big fan. And I was just like, well, this is like weird jammy music. So I bet like Zeppelin's just not that great. And I just had made that judgment, heard like one song, made a judgment based on that. And up until like my mid 20s, or sorry, it's like early 20s. So, 4 years of like my teenage nonsense of just talking crap about this band. And my friend and I were again like making like a flyer for like a show for a band we were in at the time. We're playing a show and we found like an old cassette tape of a Zeppelin album, and and I'm always gonna forget the names of their albums, but it's like the one that has the guy with like the big bale of twigs on it that has like When the Levee Breaks. And by the time the album got to When the Levee Breaks, we were just like, we're idiots. Like this band is incredible. like so we kind of had to eat our words. Like it was just one of those young dumb, judgy, then you kind of regret judging because you're just like, oh, this is good. So anyhow, my point is I've had enough experiences like that to where even when I say like a hot take about music or whatever, I take it personally with a grain of salt because like I don't know, dude. Like I've been so wrong in the past. Um, You know, I don't know. I've reached that age where I've made enough foibles when it comes to musical taste to where I realize like it really is just kind of like whatever you like. And there's a whole ton of music that I cannot like I couldn't justify with like a review or something. I used to kind of think you have to be able to justify all your tastes. And I become less and less of that person. But I will say I say that lightly cuz that's a little bit um, still in my personality to kind of have. So I'm kind of wary of that, but I'm aware of it in myself. So anyhow, that was a rant about music. I don't know. Were you guys ever like music snobs or this is the point where everybody's like, "No, dude, you were just a jerk, dude." um, and if I was, that's fine, you know. All right, we're still busting through these pages. I think we're almost at that first hour mark, which is slightly exciting. I have I'm gonna let you guys who are watching, anyone who wants to chime in the chats, you guys, if you weren't listening yesterday, I introduced a new feature that is kind of an obvious feature to this live stream, suggested and recommended by our good mutual friend Corey Kerr, the animator extraordinaire. He recommended that on during the dead air spaces when I go to because there's dead air, there was dead air on these streams when I like get up to like refill my coffee, stretch my legs, like um, participate in my terrible habit of vaping nicotine because that's what keeps me from smoking cigarettes. And it was a terrible habit I picked up at a young age, and you shouldn't do. I don't want to sound like I'm endorsing it. Um, but anyhow, so I usually do that, and I would just leave, and then you've just got dead air and like a weird view of like me walking to the door or something. And Corey recommended that during those sections, I play a trailer for one of my books. And so this is where I'm going to crowdsource it. And either I'm going to pick or whoever kind of mentions it first, you can either have the trailer for my upcoming graphic novel, Jacob's Apartment, or you can have the second trailer, not the one we played yesterday, but trailer number 2 for Two Stories, which is more of a Christmas themed trailer. And that's of the graphic novel that's out now. So while I'm working on getting a little further on the flats, I'll wait for a few seconds to see if anybody chimes in on the chats with a preference. Jacob's trailer or Two Stories trailer. And if I get feedback, then I'll go with whoever types in first. And if not, I'll just make the call. Let's see. We have about 3 minutes. Philip said, I'm voting Two Stories again. Philip, you've won the contest. Um, that's great. So in about 2 minutes, we're going to play Two Stories trailers. All right. Um, yeah, I'm trying to figure out, Gary, if you might be the reason I found out about wet leg. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we just both like collectively came to it, but I feel like I did find out about it. Somebody linked to me one of their videos, and then I just kind of fell in love with the band. I just thought they were a lot of fun, but I'm kind of curious. All right. I love it. So we have a common ground here. Gary also was saying, let's watch the Two Stories trailer for our first trailer today. Okay. I kind of want to do for these little nubbins up here, and this might be the last thing we can color before we hit that hour mark where we're gonna watch that lovely trailer. I think with this, I'm probably gonna use. I want to use my. I use this sparingly, you guys, but I think I am going to use. You know what? I'm being silly here. I was going to use the pencil tool, but then I realized there's an even quicker way, which is still reductively working. So we're going to do that. Okay. What am I doing here? Okay, there we go. And I'm going to just have these sections right here be that dark blue. Which sections, you ask? Why, these sections right here is dark blue. Okay. It is going to be like, you know what's cool? If you guys had like a stereoscopic visor with like, you know, the old Victorian stereoscopes. If you don't, just Google stereoscope. They look really rad. But this middle image could be a stereoscopic image. Like you could just hold the page really close, like kind of hold your hand between your eyes, and you might see. I almost want to test that out, but you might be able to see that street in full 3D glory. What do you guys think about that? That could be like a marketing gimmick for this thing. Yeah. All right. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're going to do this whole chunk is going to be, I think once I've flatted this roof, we're going to hit save because that is what professionals do. And the only reason I was saying that that's what professionals do is I don't want to have a tragedy here where I lose the last hour. And I haven't been hitting Command S as often as I should. Full disclosure. Okay. I think we're almost at a good spot to break, but let's get. I would like to hear during the break something to think about while we have this lovely 2 Stories trailer that is going to play. I would love to hear in the chats some recommendations for some of your favorite bands, and to make this a little less of a challenge, because for me, when people ask me to list favorite bands, I have like 1 or 2 that just instantly come to mind. Other than that, it's a really hard conversation because what genre, what are, like, are we talking like Miles Davis here, or like, you know what I mean? Like, it could go anywhere. Are we talking Toots and the Maytals? Like, what genre are we gearing to? So to make it an easier question for you guys, what's your jam in the last week? Like, what's been the thing you've been really into? Is there like a particular music that you've been digging and playing on rotation a lot lately? I will actually, full disclosure, what Gary was mentioning, that's been on rotation, the Wet Leg. I've still been just digging the hell out of Damn by Kendrick Lamar. I can't fully digest that album yet. It's still a mystifying, amazing album. I've been doing a lot of Fugazi on rotation, which is just normal. And then, well, I'll talk about my stuff in a second, but go ahead and let me know in the chats if you guys so feel inclined, and maybe I'll add some of that, whatever it is, to my Spotify playlist. All right. Oh, let me. I was like failing here in the sense of, okay, here we go. Are you guys ready? This is the trailer for. I thought I had it pulled up. Aha. This is the trailer for 2 Stories. I will be shortly back so enjoy this brief trailer for my graphic novel. I also realize, my goodness. I needed to turn off the display names too. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, this is the trailer for my upcoming graphic novel. 2 stories, and this is trailer number 2. It's Christmas themed. This originally came out around Christmas, before, like, just as the book was released. But enjoy, and I'll be back with a refill of coffee and a new vigor for life. I'll be right back. Here you go. All right, I got to work the timing a little better on that. How was that? A little bit shorter. But yeah, I'm enjoying the trailers. I hope you guys are too. I hope that kind of keeps it entertaining as we're going through it. All right. I'm loving the like BBC panorama vibe that's starting to happen on this. One of my favorite TV. Oh no. Oh no, you guys. Okay. We got to fix one of my flats. I was busy enjoying my time here as like a finished flat artist. And this is why it's important to step away. Boom. I had missed these vital sections. Boom, right here. All right. Where was I heading here, guys? I think I was talking about. Oh, Philip in the chat said he loves stuff like that. I think in regards to the stereoscopic images from like the Victorian era. Oh, and then I was going to talk about BBC Panorama. So what I was thinking of in my head while I was thumbing this out was that I want this to feel a little bit like my favorite Sherlock Holmes ever. I love the BBC version of Sherlock Holmes. It's like incredible. It is like the best interpretation of Sherlock Holmes that I've ever seen. I think Jeremy Brett is the best Sherlock Holmes. But also it has such a great intro, and you really do get this vibe of like London in that era. And a lot of it's like carriages and kind of just like a very toned back, somber kind of London feel. And so I knew when I was thumbing this out that I want it to feel a bit like that. Oh, sweet. I'm getting music recommendations too. I will give you guys attention on those in a second. I want to get through. Okay. Your music recommendations are my reward for getting through this building here. Like I need to get through all these windows up here. And once I'm done with those windows, let's see, it's 3 windows down, then there's a line and it's a different color. Love it. Okay, we're going to do this, guys. Because now I'm really excited to hear people's music recommendations. It doesn't have to be new bands either. It can be like old classics. Oh, here's another one. This is crazy. This is something that Kevin Cross turned me onto years ago, like a couple years back, and it's taken me this long to like fully start delving into it. So on Spotify lately, this is like one of those, man, I would have clowned on someone for saying this as a young music snob. But man, I've been getting into the faces and discovering why Rod Stewart was like a thing when I was growing up. Because when I was growing up, that was like the most mystifying thing. Anytime I would see Rod Stewart on TV, I was just like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why anybody likes this guy. Why is this guy being treated like he's some kind of huge superstar? I just don't understand it. Like, what is the appeal here? It's very strange. But he was already just sort of established as like this guy. And it felt very like force fed and weird and confusing. And again, like as a young kind of music snob ish person, is really baffling to me. And now I'm like, I understand it. Um, so if you guys are ever bored, I'm just before I can delve into yours because I gotta flat these 3 rows, these 3 stories, not 2 stories like my book, but 3 stories here of this building. But I gotta say, man, the faces, just it will change your opinion of at least a young Rod Stewart, where you're like, holy crap, this is a guy who like that band was like dangerous. Like they were like a band that you wouldn't want to send your daughters to that concert, like at that era. Like it was just um yeah, it's like just straight up like rock and roll. Yeah, it's shocking. It's shocking to me. I don't know. You guys check out the faces and let me know your thoughts. But I was impressed. I was impressed. I got to say. My opinion has shifted quite a bit on Mr. Rod the Mod. All right. Let's keep going, guys. Okay, just 3 stories and then I can read your music recommendations. I'm so excited about that. Oh, and then I keep forgetting to mention this, and this isn't for everybody in the chat specifically, but I do need to start mentioning this during the stream. I do take super chats. So if anyone is ever watching this live, and I'm guessing this will be more on like the weekends and stuff like that, but super chats are a fun way to support the show and support what I'm doing, support the streams, and also highlight anything you might want me to read. And if you put in a super chat, I pretty much promise that I will read it out loud, as long as it's not like belittling to other communities, and also that it's not going to like break TOS. But as long as it's TOS safe, I'll pretty much read any super chat. So if there's something like super urgent that you guys need me to comment on or something like that, um, obviously like a super chat will get my attention. Let's see here. I really want. Okay. This is why I think I talk about this all the time, but I think like one of the advantages to make gamify. And I'm sure a lot of us already do this, but it's like, man, gamifying the art experience is so good. Like, even this, where I'm like, hey, in order for me to have the reward of seeing everybody's music suggestions, I am going to have to finish these 3 stories. It's like a little reward system. And then it gives me incentive to like kind of almost like forget time, knock through this, work as fast as I can. And then once I reach that little tiny milestone, um, forgetting that I have a million little tiny milestones behind it. I will say this is going a lot faster than yesterday, right? It does feel like the flatting, once you've kind of established your colors on one panel and you're matching color choices from a previous panel, it becomes a much quicker process. Um, until we get to the next page where, that's going to be like a total scene change and all that fun stuff. All right. Should I cheat and go a little further? No, I shouldn't. I want to read everybody's recommendations. All right, here we go. Boom. Now back to the chat, guys. Let me catch up. Gary said, I think a lot of my favorites that aren't that obscure are Radiohead, Beck, Patrick Wilson, Angel Olsen, Ways Blood. But an obscure one I discovered now is Birds and Batteries. I think you might dig them. And then also, Gary on the BBC Panorama series said the Jeremy Brett one, yes, 100%. Yeah. If you guys like really like Sherlock Holmes or Victorian era stuff, it's just it's hard to explain like I think Jeremy Brett was like born to play Sherlock Holmes. He just played it with such nuance. It's like I just haven't seen anyone come close to matching like the subtlety and nuance and even just the little ticks. Like he had like facial ticks that seemed particular to Sherlock Holmes. Like his lip would twitch. Like I don't know, it's a really impressive, amazing performance, but it's also just such a fun they're just fun stories. Like I think there's something wonderful about that series that I cannot oversell. Like that's one of those things I couldn't overhype because if you watch it, you'd be like, "Oh, this is great." It's just a really good series. Philip said my mother used to watch those years ago. Yeah, like my mom too. And then I kind of rediscovered them. I think it was because I was thinking about what made me kind of re-explore them. Oh, that's it. I was thinking about Edward Gorey, and I think that there was a show on television called like Mystery Theater, I think, and it had like an Edward Gorey animation at the intro. And I was thinking back on it, I was like, that was a really cool, like, it was just a cool animation, you know? And then I was thinking, I wonder if Sherlock Holmes was as good as like I remember from when I was younger. And then I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like better. Like now I can see why my mom is like an English major and really liked this. Like my mom was an English teacher too, and so she really liked reading Sherlock Holmes. Um, and I could totally understand why she was like really into that. But I also it's been fun because my wife and I are both obsessed with it. So it's like a fun thing that we both really enjoy like watching together and stuff like that. Speaking of watching together and stuff like that, I am going to be hopefully catching up. Like this is the hard part about doing comics too, is I have no idea when I'm gonna watch the next Moon Knight episode, but I've been really enjoying those. Yeah. Gary said mystery opened with a gory animation. Yeah. And it was just like this subtle, like dark, twisted animation that took place in like a I think it was like a graveyard. You know what's cool? I bet that's on YouTube. I bet that's on the YouTubes. I'm gonna check that out. Maybe as like a before going to bed today, see if they still have that. Philip said, yes, watched it for years. I can still hear the opening music in my head. It was hosted by Vincent Price for years. Oh, Vincent Price. I didn't actually know that. I love Vincent Price. He's so good. Um, deep cut on Vincent Price. I've mentioned this before on stream, so you guys might already know it. A real fun discovery recently. My wife a few years back got me the collection of all the original Batman television series, the really like the Adam West Batman. And I will tell you, um, Vincent Price was a villain on the Batman TV series, and I had somehow missed this fact. I'm sure there's, like, communities that have ranted about this fact because it's amazing. It's like his character's so great. He's, like, the most obscure Batman villain, at least within that series, like, ever. But yeah, Vincent Price, like, so we were watching, and I can't remember which season, but, he ends up playing this character named Eggman, who makes all egg-related puns, and I need to catch up on there's so much, like, pop culture you miss when you're making comics. I still haven't seen the new Batman, and I heard that it was great. I still haven't seen the Joker, uh, movie. I haven't seen a lot of stuff. I still haven't seen the new Spider-Man, which is like, none of these are new anymore, but I still haven't seen any of these movies. But I have this in my head, if I had to write Batman, um, I would totally bring back Eggman because he's just a funny I mean, it's just a great tongue in cheek, like, stupid villain. Like, beyond, like, but also played by Vincent Price, and so he'll oh, was it Egghead? Let me see. I thought it was Eggman, but that might be me thinking okay. Okay, it was Egghead, my goodness. See, I'm confusing the Beastie Boys with that. So Eggman's the song by the Beastie Boys, which is a great song. Um, no, Egghead. So I would bring back Egghead. I just think it's the funniest villain, and he'd basically just make like really bad puns about eggs throughout the entire episode. He had an assistant named Florentine. Um, he well, I'm trying to think of like all the funny stuff. I mean, he'd just make egg puns all the time. He'd just be like, um, oh, we're in a bit of a scramble, like, and he'd be like, "That's exactly what I mean, exactly." And I'm like, I want this guy to be a real thing and treated like sincerely. I think, anyhow. So that's my prediction for the next Batman movie. I think they're gonna do a deep cut just for me and do Egghead as a serious villain, very serious villain who still makes really bad dad joke egg puns. Anyhow, so that was a shock to me because I didn't remember that. Like I watched that show growing up and I had no memory of that character. Probably because as a kid I probably would have thought like, man, this character's lame. But as an adult, man, I I love him so much. Okay. Anyhow, thank you for indulging me if you guys have heard that story before, but that was a real joy in my life when when I found that out. It gave my life meaning for a week or two. I, like, knew my purpose in life was to tell people about Egghead. Gary was saying I did really like the Joker and the Batman, the Batman especially. Yeah, that's what I keep hearing. I keep hearing that it's somewhat, uh, great, and I wanna confirm that. And then you're saying, Spider-Man was good, but kinda long and fan servicey, which I'm okay with. I don't mind fan servicey if done right. Um, Fun but not brilliant. Yeah, I need to see that though because I am a big I do like Doctor Strange a lot. I think that's my favorite character right now in the MCU. And so I would be really into catching up so that when Doctor Strange comes out, I can know what's going on. I will tell you guys though, like, the thing that got me out of mainstream comics might start being a problem with the MCU, where when I was younger, one of the things outside of just getting interested in other stuff than like superhero stories, one of the things that got me out of buying Marvel comics uh, was like there was a stage around the Image era where like my comic was Spider-Man. Like that's the comic I followed. I collected a weird version of Spider-Man that like nobody collected. So most people were reading like Amazing, or I think later on like Spectacular had just launched. And then you had Spider-Man, and then you had weirdos like me that were collecting Web of Spider-Man. And that's what I read. And I collected, and I literally was like close to having every issue. Um and that was a book where like when I was following it, I was like pulling through the bins and trying to find all the missing back issues and like just really enjoying that story arc. For some reason that was one of the first comics that was like a floppy comic that I like really connected with. It also had a lot of the alien costume stuff, which was cool. Um, but I remember it got to this point where you would be reading a story and there's like an asterisk, and it would be like, oh, see issue, uh 476 of Amazing Spider-Man or whatever. And so you'd be like, wait a minute, this is like a major plot point. Like I have no idea what's happening in the story now. Now I got to go spend money and time to like buy an issue that I don't even collect just to know what's happening in the story that I buy monthly. I remember as a kid just, feeling like this is kind of lame because I have like this specific, I wasn't a rich kid or anything like that. So I had a budget, and for a long time I was literally mowing lawns um, just to like get the income to buy comics. So I'd like go mow lawns all throughout the neighborhood and knock on people's doors and be like, "Hey, can I mow your lawn? Like, I'll charge this much." And I'd mow lawns, and that's kind of how I afforded to get comics at the time. And so I remember just being like, "Well, this sucks," because like, because now I got to mow more lawns, just like know what happened in the story, right? Um, Anyhow, I will say I could see a future like, so far I've been, unlike a lot of people, because I know some people have, like, major gripes about the MCU thing, and so far, I haven't I don't have, like, major gripes, like, I feel like it's been really cool, but I could see it getting there where, like, even with I've really been enjoying the Marvel television stuff for Disney. Like I feel like they're nailing it and going to these territories that are just cool and like meta and anyhow. But I will say I think that's a risk they're running of doing the film version of that, which I do think might work, or it might have the same impact it had on me as a kid and just kind of turn people off because they're just gonna be like, "Look, I can't even keep up with what's going on anymore. Like, who cares?" you know, which actually I got to as a kid. As much as I was like invested, I had poured years of collecting into this stuff, and then I just got to a point where I was just like, I can't even follow the stories anymore. Um, so I hope it doesn't do that, and I also wouldn't want that to be a reason they don't pursue creative story building or world building. Um, Anyhow, that's a little idea there. All right, you guys, we're getting through this street. I'm excited about finishing this street whenever I can. I also noticed that the monitor is flashing, and I have no idea what's causing that. I might have to try to troubleshoot that with Corey. What would cause I don't know if you guys are seeing that, but, like, the color kind of wonks in and out, and I think it has something to do with frame rate settings on OBS, but I think I need to, have a conversation with Corey. Maybe I'll bug him during Artcasters and be like, "Hey, Corey, why is this happening?" Because I feel like if anyone would know how to adjust that, it would be Corey Kerr, um, who I think is gonna be on Marsh's stream tomorrow too. I'm very excited about that because I haven't heard from Marsh in a while, and Marsh is a good dude. Okay, we're getting there, you guys. This I think I want to be white at the edge. I think that's what we did on the top. I want it to be white on the edge here. And now I want to do that. And now I'm going to do this because I can. All right. So here we go. Let's see if I can at least finish the right side of the street. Let's see if that happens before the next break. Before I need another little break section. And also, thanks for the music recs, Gary. I'm gonna check those out. You mentioned a few. I am definitely one of those guys who like I do like Radiohead. I don't feel like they've made a bad album. I think that's one of the unique things about Radiohead. I don't know if you agree with that, Gary, but I feel like they haven't made yeah. I mean, I guess it's not really a hot take or anything. I think people who like Radiohead like them for that reason. um and I fluctuate. Like the thing I like about the variety of what they do is like there's times where I very much if I'm going to put on Radiohead, I want to hear, you know, shreddy, brilliant guitar work. And this is a weird thing about Radiohead that I like. And I guess this isn't like deep cut music takes or anything. But I kind of like that I think that their leads are some of the best leads ever made in music. And I don't think that's a really far stretch to say. But the way they structure their guitar work when they were kind of a guitar heavy band is so fascinating because it's not like it it like it's deceptive. Like it seems unshreddy, but it's really shreddy. But anyhow, I really admire them and enjoy it. And there's times where I like really need that the rock version of them. And there's times where I like am all about kind of the more electronic fusion weirdness that that I've grown to love by them. And it's funny because I feel like throughout the years and like this last year I've really been enjoying kind of revisiting Kid A especially um and like songs like How to Disappear Completely kind of like stick. I don't know, there's so many songs that are just like brilliant by them, but anyhow, not a big surprise there. Okay, let's see here. But I am enjoying the first 2 episodes of Moon Knight. I really enjoyed. So I will be curious to kind of see where that takes us. What journey are they going to take us on? Okay. Window ledges, if I have them in here. We're going to do this business here, guys. These are going to be white. These are going to be white. This, I'm not sure what was going on there, but this is going to be white. This too. Yeah, Gary was saying if somebody throws in like best band of all time, he was saying you could reasonably make the case that Radiohead's up there. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Still kind of assessing the panel above it just to see, okay, what's the thinking on that? Got it. And then I do want this to go. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. So we're sort of piecing this together. It's not matching up entirely or perfectly with the panel above it, which makes sense because I was drawing, twice. So the street isn't going to perfectly match up. Spoiler alert, you guys. That's just what happens with drawing. I'm not going to be able to have. Well, I guess I could, but I think with the time it would require to be 100% on point with the city turnaround would be a little difficult. Not impossible, but I got as close as I could. But like as I get further into the background, the more I realize like, ooh, there's gonna be some differences. I'm gonna try to consolidate those differences and make it feel similar. And by the way, that's something like again, like colorists, man, those amazing people probably have to deal with all the time. Um, where they're like, "Oh man, now the building's changed." Um, Luckily, it's my own art, so I can like intuit a lot from it. But I feel bad for like a flatter trying to figure out like what were they doing here? Like, why is that different? Um, and then kind of compensating for it. But since this is my own art, I'm a little more forgiving of that unforgivable error, you guys. Unforgivable. All right, here we go. So now we're going to get into working out this building. I think what's going to make this unified again is going to happen very shortly. I also think I want the windows, even the inside, to be blue. So I'm going to go back here and correct that. I think that's going to be the inside indent that's underneath the glass rather than in front of the glass. All right. Did we finish that section? The nice thing about this is too, because that like on a time crunch level, behind this carriage is also hiding a bunch of flats. So luckily I'm not going to have to fill twice as many things at this point. Okay. Now we're going to do this. Get that light area here. Oh, darn it. Made that correction without making that correction. Okay. So this is where I definitely like video game out on like the way it's like some of this does feel very much like okay, we're color filling the area. And then when you make an error, you're like, ah, okay, I gotta restart that level. Try to defeat the boss from this different perspective. All right. But yeah, so BBC Panorama. I feel like that was great. There was a really good Poirot too from that era that I really enjoyed. I have not seen. Okay, this is going to be a question for those of you who might. Have any of you guys seen Kenneth Branagh's Poirot? I haven't. And I have to admit there's a part of me that's curious like to know if is that as good as like the David Suchet Poirot, or are you guys like not Poirot people? Because that's from about that same BBC Panorama era. You had like kind of Suchet doing Poirot for I think like a decade or something. He played that character. Um, and again, I might be crazy, but I actually really like his depiction of Poirot. Um, okay. Gary was saying I heard they're good, but I haven't seen them. Yeah, at some point I'm gonna have to like rent those, but I'm having enough trouble just keeping up with the stuff that I already am like almost 100% sure will be good. Um, okay, getting closer, getting closer. My goal is to try within like the 2 hour mark of this stream to kind of see if I can do this. See what can be done here. All right. Just have to get in here and get all these windows. All the wonderful windows that hold us all together. So I'm curious, because I'm pretty much booked on my next two books. Like this is probably going to come out next. I got Jacobs coming out in June, um, and then I have Two Stories Book Two, which I need to haul butt on when this is done. So I'm pretty booked for the next few years. Um, but I do think about like the next project quite a bit. I'm kind of curious. I'm sure we've talked about it, Gary, but have you ever thought about like, because I think you're still playing in the sandbox, and um, that sounds almost demeaning. Not that it's like this easy process, but it's like it feels like right now you're really enjoying kind of working in the sandbox that is dinosaurs versus Mars bots. Like, I'm curious because I think you have like an arc you're kind of envisioning. Do you ever see yourself like diverting and doing like a one-off story or something like that? Um, and do those thoughts ever come up while you're working on a project where you're like, I've got like this other thing that at some point I really want to get to. And I feel like you have touched on that before, but maybe I've just forgotten. Which again, sometimes I can have like the memory of a goldfish, so forgive me on that. If you have broached that topic. I definitely have moments of that. I mean, this is definitely like going to be very all consuming for like my brain for quite a bit, but I have started pouring through some some ideas, particularly all ages stuff. Like I feel like there's something there to be mined. Like I do think there's a story somewhere in me that's that all ages book. I will say this is a good book because it does have it can have a slightly younger market than my other stuff, which is definitely like my other stuff is definitely not for like every reader. It's definitely more for like young adults than adults. But I do feel like there's a market. There's a story and a market that I'd like to kind of tap at some point, which is that kind of younger audience. See if I have that in me, you know. But if I was gonna pursue that, it'd have to be authentic. Yeah, Gary was saying I'd have to try to finish Dinosaurs versus Marsbots before anything else, but I do think about future projects a lot. Yeah, me too. Um, and I do think it's important to like stay the course because you know even this like if there weren't like a publishing deal and a brilliant script and a giant opportunity um, behind this, I would be staying the course on two stories because I think that's how those things get done. I think it's really easy to you know um, step away from a project and then it just becomes the project that never was. Um, and I will not allow that to happen with two stories. Um, but I think were it not for this sort of amazing thing to have happened, I'd be carving away at two stories. And the second this is done, I'm going to be carving away at two stories because of that reason. It's like that has to be done first because it's that finishing projects thing. You know, I was commenting on the finished, not perfect thing on a couple streams recently. I think in a slightly skeptical fashion, but there's a lot of truth to that. Like you know, the cool thing about like Gary when you finish DVSM is you're gonna have this like huge body of work of a finished project, right? And to me, I'll take a finished project over like a half baked idea, you know. Um, that's crazy. Philip said I'm gonna have to turn in, but I wanted to say I tried to order Jacob's apartment through Diamond. A friend of mine works at a comic shop and tried to do it, but he couldn't. Okay, Philip, if you can go to Graphic Mundi's website, um, that has like the ISBN number, and so if they're having trouble like locating it, it should be really easy to access. Um, if not, like, let me know the shop, like, shoot me an email or a direct message. I think we're friends on Facebook, so you can message me on Facebook and let me know the shop name, and if you don't mind even sharing, like, the contact info for the owner, I can have my publisher literally reach out to our Diamond rep and, get on that because Jacob's Apartment should be the catch is it's for release in June, so if you're trying to, like, buy it, um, that's a different thing, but you should be able to pre-order it. And if you're having trouble pre-ordering it, yeah, I can contact my publisher about that because that would be insane. Like they need to be able to pre-orders should be able to be in at this point for that. Because it's in like previews, you know. It's like if it's in previews, there shouldn't be an issue. Um, there shouldn't be an issue ordering it. But yeah, Philip, let me know if that's like I don't want to make you do extra miles of work or anything for it, but I would definitely want to make sure with my publisher and with Diamond that like that's not like not an issue, right? Because like how insane would that be if I'm like out here promoting books and people can't even order them? He said, "What's that called again?" Sure, it's a bit of a long story and it's hard to explain in text here. It's actually my roommate who knows them. Oh, who knows the okay. Well, anyhow, just um just let me know. But yeah, Jacob's Apartment, Graphic Mundi is the publisher. And if you go to graphicmundi.org, there's a link here and on my website to it that will take you direct to the publisher, and you can see the ISBN number, and uh, they should be able to order that direct from or pre-order it from Previews or Diamond. From Diamond, and the book is in Previews, so there's in the Previews catalog. So I can't imagine it not being something you could pre-order, right? However, if you're trying to like order it today and have it like shipped to you tomorrow, like it doesn't release till June, so it would be a pre-order. Like the store would be pre-ordering it. Okay, now we've got this going. But thank you for going that extra mile and trying to make that happen. That'll be interesting to see if that. Hopefully, that's a anomaly and not the norm. Shift F5. Let's see here. Also, Philip, have a good night, bud. Um, yeah, so there's this kind of unique thing up here. Which again, I probably want to do here too. Here 2.4. Yeah, so they should be able to like kind of at least note to order it. Uh, Okay, let's see here. But again, like if there's some kind of issue the store's having, like I believe Graphic Mundi has like a specific diamond rep that they can contact, and then that rep can literally like call the store and be like, "Here's how we'll stock you up with that book." Um, that's my understanding. All right, let's see here. We have two things here. Um, Philip said, "Should I email you the info or what's best way to send it?" Yeah, just my name at gmail.com. And it's uh, you can, you know what, the easiest way to email me, just go to joshuakemble.com and then email me through the link there for contact, and that'll get you right to my email address. Um, I don't know if that's great to mention on stream though, because I'm like, I don't think it matters. I mean, it's with my email, it's publicly available information, so I don't think that's a bad thing to reveal. But when you do contract work, a lot of your stuff like that is out there in the interweb areas. Yeah, email it to me, and I can forward it to my peeps. My goodness, I was hoping that in 2 hours I would finish the right side of the street, and we are getting so much closer. But I have no idea if we're actually going to make it in the sense of like finishing it. Um, and that's okay. I'm not wrapping the stream, but at the 2 hour mark, we are overdue for a trailer for Jacob's Apartment, which, by the way, that trailer will also have at the very end the ISBN number, which is helpful for orders as well. Okay. We're here. We're back here. I was stepping ahead a little bit. we need to be back in this territory of color. So I'm going to kind of go here with some of it. So we're back here, still in this long realm of buildings. Okay. Think I've found my bearings, you guys, on like this navigating the microscopic world that is this background. Gary said, I'm tapping out for the night, but intend to draw almost all day tomorrow. So until next time. Well, I appreciate it, Gary. Thanks for hanging with me. I am probably going to be going for another hour and a half. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to finish the flats. It'd be a shame if I have to spend all week on these flats, but that's okay if that's the case as well. And I appreciate the company, and I hope I have kept you guys company as well while you're working on your projects. So we're going to press forward here very bravely and do this thing. I am kind of curious about the Brano thing. So if any of you guys see that or have seen Kenneth Brano do Hercule Poirot, let me know. I'm curious. I feel like there's Kenneth Branagh did a Much Ado About Nothing a couple years back, and save for Keanu Reeves in it, everything else is great. Keanu Reeves is awesome. I enjoy Keanu Reeves, but he is not he's not the best in that. Like, it's a little strange to see Keanu Reeves do like a Shakespearean villain. But anyhow, ever since that movie, and then he did Hamlet a couple years back in a pretty impressive way. And so ever since then, I've had like a respect for Kenneth Branagh, but like, I don't know, you know. Okay. I am curious about that though. All right, so I just need to make sure I'm keeping track of my buildings here. Interesting. I don't know what happened there. Very interesting. Okay. There we go. And I think that for the trailer that I'm going to play right now, after I finish these windows, we're going to play the trailer for Jacob's Apartment, which you should be able to pre-order from Graphic Mundi. That's the publisher. So if you were ordering it from Diamond, it's usually listed under the publisher. And if you looked under Graphic Mundi for June release, that should be there. But anyhow, so I'm really excited about this book. It's going to be in bookstores everywhere in June, and I'm just thrilled about it. But I also I'm going to need to play that because we're at the 2-hour mark. And in order for me to kind of keep my brain agile and functioning, I kind of have to break every 2 hours, as people are familiar with who watch the stream. But what we're going to do real quick is finish at least this section of the building. Ow. And deselect that area. So at least we have a nice fresh start. And I'm going to save. And We got close, guys. I was hoping by the 2-hour mark we'd have the whole right side of the street. Not quite there, but we're getting very, very close. All right. So while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and throw on the trailer. And then I'm going to get a refill of my coffee and all that fun stuff. And then we'll hit it again. So here is the trailer for Jacob's Apartment, my upcoming graphic novel. Enjoy. And yeah, here we go. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing pain. I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. And I'm still getting used to the timing. So that should do it. Now we're going to get into the rest of the flats on this page, which should be fairly thrilling, you guys. It's a thrilling adventure hour. So let me see here. I am really excited about that book, though. So it might be kind of crazy to like have my response if somebody's having trouble ordering it to be like, let me know and I'll let my publisher know, but like I do want to make sure people can get a hold of that book. Especially if it's like at a store, like they should be able to kind of pre-order. So I'm going to kind of look into that, and I will take claims like that seriously, and I will get back to you guys on future streams about that kind of thing, because I definitely want to make sure we get that going. I also need to actually follow up with them. This is like a side thing of like the multiple books problem that happens. It's a good problem to have. I'm now in a scenario where I really need to hit my press releases for that book, and I've lagged on press releases. And that's something that like is like the dark side of the industry. It's not like a dark evil thing in the industry or whatever, but it's like, if you want to get press for a book, you have to do press releases. And I need to hit that campaign like as hard as I did with Two Stories, because that initial push that I did on Two Stories was actually pretty effective. Like we moved some books and got more readers and got some press, which helped introduce it to some newer readers and stuff like that. So anyhow, so this weekend I have to somehow figure out how to spend almost every waking moment working on this book so I hit my deadline on it. And by the way, like anybody who's in the game making comics, it's like I think a lot of them will just be like rolling their eyes like, yeah, welcome to the club, dude. But for me, it's kind of a new experience of dealing with the multiple books. Like I have a book coming out, and then I'm working on another book. And I've kind of been in that scenario before, but with less crazy tight deadline as this one. So it'll be a good experience to kind of learn the game a little better. But that's something that I want to verbally remind myself to do. Is like this weekend, I need to follow up with my publisher to see if we're doing with Graphic Mundi to see if we're doing TCAF. Because I do have like I actually got my passport in order to do TCAF, which I'm excited about because I haven't had to own a passport my entire life. I'm not like much of a wanderlust type guy. Don't do a lot of traveling out of countries, but I would love to have the excuse to go to a cool indie comic convention that I've heard tons about. So I need to see if that's going to happen. Did we get in? Do we know if we got in? Maybe we don't know yet if we're in. So that's step one. Step two of what I have to do this weekend on the Jacob's apartment front, just to make sure that the book has a chance, is send out like a ton of press releases. Like I need to dedicate like a good hour or two this weekend to sending out those and following up with people who've had me on their shows and stuff like that. I will say if you watch this and you guys do have a show and would want to have me on to talk about Jacob's apartment, I would love to do that. But I'm also going to probably send out some press releases and stuff and get like interviews going and that. And I also need to follow up with the local Barnes and Noble, which tentatively booked a date for the first signing I'll be doing for that book, and in June. I think their signing was for July. I can't. I'll have to double check because I have it written down. But that's another thing I need to check on because I think it was too early at the time, too far away from release for them to put it on their site. But I need to confirm and double check. Because if there's one thing I've learned in books and in promotion and stuff like that is like never assume, always confirm. It's just a good rule in life in general. So I wanted to book a signing locally here too at bases, and I need to follow up with them. I need to probably reach out to a couple more stores to try to line up some signings for around the release date. Because we're getting closer. We're in April now, and it's crept up because I've been working nonstop on this book. So that's definitely something I'm going to have to consciously like try to be more proactive about. I think I was making a mistake here. I might have to correct that mistake. I might have gone one step too far here, guys. Let's see. Am I reading that wrong? Brown. Yes, brown to blue. Brown, blue. Okay. But anyhow, those are all things that I'm thinking about that I need to think about. And of course, just approach it with like a sense of adventure. Like you're not going to nail everything perfectly. I'm only one human being. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be able to perfectly do this whole thing, this whole experience. But I'm gonna do my damnedest, right? So that's the catch. Oh my goodness. Really kind of surprised I didn't get this right. Or maybe I'm getting it wrong again. Here, let me look at this, make sure it's lining up. Okay, we have all our windows here. it goes into here. Yeah, okay, that's good to know. So that is going to be a thing. Fix. Okay. Knew there was something a little off with the way this was working. Okay. Now that should match up a little better. I want to have this there. Let's double check that that's accurate. Yep, that's good. And now I need to look at under that. What does that look like? We're in this territory. So that's going to go to this blue and then to a white. Gets kind of very like Tetris-y down in these parts. Oh, too soon on. I want to have the overhang kind of blue here. And I think I might have it go a little further over. And then I want it to go to white again. And I'm going to actually pull it all the way over to here in that territory. And then I'm going to do eye drop, another plant. While I'm at it, I'm just going to get rid of all these plants. There's a couple plants here. Maybe some of them aren't plants, but they're plants now. Yeah, so that's a interesting thing is like I've mentioned this before on stream, but I feel like that's the big secret of creative life is like when you kind of like spend a lot of time, and I don't know if this is going to be the moment where it kind of breaks a little bit, but it's like spent a long time kind of like knocking at publishers' doors, and kind of getting just unopened doors, and meanwhile kind of advancing my career, having other open doors happen. But in comics, like that door always kind of remained a little shut, and it's just like cracked open. And as it opens up, it's like rather than things getting easier, they tend to and I've found this in my career in general. It's like things tend to get way busier, way harder. But it's like a good like I don't know if that makes sense. It's like you kind of don't want it any other way. Like that's the thing. I don't want it to get simpler. I want to continue having these opportunities, and so if it gets a little weird or a little tough, that's to be expected. I don't know if that's helpful or interesting at all, but for me, it's a new experience. It's been a fun experience, kind of like thinking about. And again, like I can alternate from feeling really intimidated and nervous to feeling like super excited. And I think it's like a mix of all of that. If I'm honest. Okay, so the windows and the trim are like this. Got it. The windows and the trim. So this trim, wait, that's not trim. Haha. Okay, I almost made a mistake there. Windows and the trim are going to be this lighter color. Okay, let's go back here. Just have to keep my memory functioning here. Okay, windows and the trim are going to be that color. I think that will match it up. And we're going to switch it out. And if the windows and the trim are that color, then we've got this color for the little section there. And that's going to rule out this little area here. It's funny because, like, a lot of these little things, it's not like somebody's gonna look back here and be like, "Oh, that color's off," but I think subconsciously, if these things don't kinda line up at least a little bit, people will kinda read that and not even know why, but they'll be like, "Something feels off." Okay, here we go. So we have okay, now it's this, ledges, and then windows. Okay. So I think I can get this in the ledges. Got it. Okay. There's like a gap and then the ledge. Okay. Right. So here we go. I'm going to do kind of blocks the ledges. Blocks. Blocks the ledges. And I can push it a little further to go down here. I want to see what I did over here because that might have been filled already. It was. That was that blue. So now we're going to do that blue. And now we're going to do that part. Yeah, okay. That part needs to be this red. Had a few missing areas, guys. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to do the section underneath here, which is going to be this unique area. And then it goes to white. That's good to know. I feel like that's not even showing there. So I'm going to just go ahead and invent a little bit just so that it feels a little more accurate to the previous. Even though there's some differences. Oh, wait a minute. I see what's going on here. Okay. We're going to do this as a window and this as a window. That was my confusion there. If I could go backwards in time and talk to what I was thinking when I was drawing it. Okay, so that's going to be this here. Might just kind of make that choice. So now we're going to see if there's anywhere that I need to have this here, which I think I'm going to do there. So I am going to have that as like a section here. Then we're going to get into that color up here. And then we're going to get into just the white area underneath. We're getting one step closer to done with this street. And it looks like, at this point, it's kind of looking like this section might just be what we finish tonight. We might finish more, or we might finish just this section. And that's going to be just have to be okay. All right. So here we go. But I'm hoping at least we'll finish these panels, and then maybe we just have that one panel to finish. It would be really cool, though. To me, I'll be right on point if I can finish this tonight. If I can't, I'm a little behind, but that's okay. That's workable, you know. I'm going to have this part here, and then I'm going to do this part here as white as well. I'm going to do the At this point, it might be worth inventing a bit. We'll see. I want to do this as like the wood there. I want to do this as the wood there, and then we're going to get into some territories behind that I think will be a little easier and quicker to flat, because now we're getting kind of into that more creative territory. Okay, the roof is this brown. That's good to know. The roof is brown. The roof be yeah, the roof, the triangular part of the roof is brown. Boom, right here. Triangular part of the roof, brown. Done and done. Okay. What else? This part of the roof and this part of the roof. Okay. This part of the roof. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a bold choice here. And then we're going to do this part of the roof. Getting there, guys. Getting there. Oh, I'm loving how this is working. Okay. Gives me hope, guys. Maybe we'll make it. 2 o'clock's my out, though. So I have to basically go hard till 2 or 2 in the morning. All right. Now we're going to get into this, which is trim. Okay. Just one step at a time, guys. Shift F5, trim. Boom. I'm going to even check that out a little bit, because maybe that trim goes a little further down. Trim. And then down here, we're going to go ahead and assume that means there. Trim. And then down here. Boom. All right. Now we're going to do our windows. Even know if the windows are going to be, oh, they are fillable. Pow. Pow. Chapow. 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 I know it's like they're mostly covered in black, but just in case there's some transparency there, I want it to line up and match. Okay. Did we miss a deselection area, or am I crazy? We did. We missed a deselection area, which would be, oh, never mind. That's okay. Yeah, we did. Okay. Now, we're almost off this page, which is good. We're at this section here. I'm going to do, okay, we've got our windows. These are going to be the frames, and then this is the wall up into under the gray. So we're going to do that. Frames. Okay, the frames are going to be this. So I want to do this first. Okay. And we don't have frames because it's from a distance. So I'm just going to have these as the brown, just so it's like feeling similar. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to do this. Now we've got our wall is done to that section. And now we've got our wall is done to this section. Just kind of repeating this all. Now the underside is going to be this color and this color. Got it. Okay. Shift F5. Going to be this color. And let's get back to this side, this color. And then we're going to have Shift F5. This will be our section down here. Pow. Choo pow. Look at that. Okay. It's going to be the fun part. We can just bust through the rest of this. Will it be possible by 2 to finish all of these flats and modify the type a little bit? I don't know. It'd be cool if it was. I want to get that green thing, whatever that is. And I think the only thing that's going to look like that green thing is going to be here. So we'll just make that the green thing. And then again, I want it to have a familiarity, so we're going to do that green thing. All right. Getting there, getting closer. We have this, and what's the trim on this? Okay, the trim is that like light. Okay. Our trim. I'm going to actually just be wild here and make this part of the trim too. Because I'm crazy like that. Okay. Be wild and make this part of the trim too. Because I'm crazy like that. And then there's a lamppost. I need to grab that light. I think I'm already in that territory, but let's get there. Shift F5. Oh, whoa. For some reason I was in Adobe search for a second there because I deselected. It's going to be this lamp, which again, hardly anyone's going to know it's a lamp, but hey, be consistent here. Okay. And then we're going to get back to our trim. And I want to look at that again. Back there. Yep. Okay. Get back to our trim. And our trim is going to go here. As this whole section. Trim back here as a whole section. And now we're going to go back to this. And I'm just going to select that whole building. So we got that building done. Boom. That building done and done. Whew. We're getting there, you guys. We are gonna bust through this and get it done. Now it's just a variety of that gray for like the rooftops. Okay, I think we have a little freedom here, guys. So I'm gonna do gray for a rooftop here. Be bold and make that the entire rooftop. Also have that be the trim. And I like that. Okay. Let's go back here. Have that be the entire rooftop. And the trim. And maybe it's one step down. Feels like, did I already finish that? Ha. Okay, well, we're getting there. And then I want to have this actually be that lighter color, just so it's got a little bit of a shade difference. Now we can get in and be like, this is done. This whole chunk here. Or actually, you know what, to keep it with variety, let's do that. And let's do a little bit of that brown in there, so maybe we can use that as a differentiating factor. That section back here, which is going to be here. Oh, and we're going to use our polygonal lasso, our best friend here. Polygonal lasso. And we're going to do... Oh man, my back is starting to get there with the pain. All right, this is another reason it's good to have hard outs at a specific time. Know your burnout time, basically, because you got to kind of measure, like, when you're working on these things, what is your sort of tolerance for like what you can take on without destroying yourself. And so far, I've found a pretty good medium, which is 2 in the morning. Okay, here I'm going to just go crazy and say, like, this is going to be that dark blue way back. Now we've got this as like a dark blue, sort of strangely dark blue building, but I don't mind that. It creates a little pop of that color on that side. Makes it pop. Okay. Then we got brown roof. Brown roof is going to go here. And brown roof. Then we're going to do, let's do kind of a cream now. Cream building. Building. Now we're going to do brick. And brick. And roof. And roof. Okay. We finally finished this whole section, the right section. So now I need to work out this left section. I'm going to go ahead and cheat and take an extra little break right now because my back's starting to feel it. And then we'll stick in for the home stretch. So I'm going to go ahead and put that, let's see, what trailer did we play last time? We're going to play the trailer for 2 Stories again. So I'll play this trailer real quick while I get a refill of coffee. Well, you know what? I'm not even going to have coffee. I'm just going to disappear for a second, stretch, and I'll be right back. In the meantime, enjoy this trailer for 2 Stories, my graphic novel that's available now, and you can order through Amazon. So go for it. Boom. right. That worked. I think we're ready to power through. Let's get this other side going. The fun thing about this is, for this side, I can juxtapose and bring a little more color in there. I don't want it to have too many commonalities. Okay, let's start with a few things. Lights. Camera, action, guys. Okay. And when I say guys, I really want to be clear that that's just a California thing. In California, for some reason, when I was really little and we lived in Texas, everybody said y'all for when they're addressing a group of people. And in California, it's you guys. Oh. One thing that I don't like about modern Macs is the F keys all have pre-assigned actions that when you work digitally, you tend to use actions and shortcuts, and occasionally if you like misfire your action, you've pulled your dock over or something like that, and it can be kind of irritating. Okay, here I'm just going to deselect areas that I want to have. No, that's the wrong method. Okay, we're going to do our windows. Wait, do I want my, yes. Is that going to conflict a little bit, but that's okay. So these are going to be windows. My window selections for this little flat building here. I need to visualize what I'm coloring here and try to kind of make it happen. Okay. Do I have any more windows in this spot? Just for the heck of it, I'm going to have these windows also be this blue. Do I want to go further and assume that these windows will be blue as well? Let's go ahead and do that. We'll say all the windows up until the end of this kind of more Victorian style over here are going to be blue. So I'm going to deselect all the window areas here as blue. I kind of don't want the trim here to be blue. So I have to remember that for the second pass at this. Okay. There we go. So we got some windows that are blue. Here we're going to do our windows blue. Same pass. Okay. We've got about 30 minutes left, so it is looking like we're probably just going to finish this street tonight. I'm not ruling out the possibility of the last panel, but I'm guessing that very last panel is probably going to be at the start of next stream tomorrow. And then we have the fun again. And that fun is going to be like doing research, where we can hop in and like basically like it's been pretty fun when I'm doing those streams where we're going to be doing roughs and basing those roughs off of research for the next page. Or we could move on to pencils, but I kind of don't tend to like streaming while I'm penciling. So we'll see. This section too. Okay. And now we're going to do these to be that brick is going to be for that larger part of the building over here. I want this to be brick. I probably should have started with the smaller sections because it's going to be harder to deselect out the larger area of brick. But that's okay. We started with this, so we're going to follow it through, kind of marching ant our way through this maze. Okay. I like the idea of this being kind of more clearly brick too. So we're going to do that. And I like the idea of this being brick as well, right here. And maybe we just have a little fun with it. It's brick up to there. Okay. We're going to do our brick again. And deselect our brick on this building. Again, I work reductively, so it's like I like to kind of reduce one color at a time. It helps me be patient with my color choices. What am I doing here? Oh my gosh. That I failed at, so I'm going to have to just reselect the areas. Okay. There we go. And we're going to do, I liked the idea of that being through, and then this being kind of more of a through area. Okay. Now, what do I want that building top to be? Is it going to be kind of be more like a concrete top? That feels a little more period accurate. So let's do that. It's my concrete top there. My concrete top here. And now we're going to get into this Victorian. I want to have like a little bit of those greens just to kind of pull the color. And I want some more brown. Maybe it'll be brown and green. Okay. So, oh, thought I had that brown. Oh, darn it. Green and brown. Okay. I like the idea of a brown roof and more of like kind of brown sort of faux brick stuff. All that filigree stuff that's on these old buildings. It's a brownstone. Maybe this trim too. And then this chunk here with all this faux stuff will also be almost wholly that brown. And I kind of want it to be like a big chunk until it gets to this section. So that's going to be all brown. And we're going to go through and do the same thing here. I know, guys, thrilling times. I hope if you're watching, this is somewhat entertaining or informative, or maybe will help you have somebody keeping you company while you're drawing, or at least maybe give you some insight. Like if you've never flatted before, maybe if you have flatted before, maybe you're seeing some insight, or maybe you're watching and you're going like, I know a better way. Which, by the way, I always want to be clear about this. If you have a better, more effective, quick way to flat stuff, I am always open. I'm kind of open to suggestions on all of that stuff. Was green the wrong call there? That's what I'm curious about. Find out. Being a little looser, like there were a little straggly choices there, but Green might have been the right call. It might be too much attention to have that green, but whatever. We'll adjust it later if we need it. I want a little bit of blue back here, so let's get back to that. And then I want some more of that kind of white too, because I feel like that's missing a little bit back here. Okay, so white's going to be the stone color here. I'm going to have that as like this roof. Maybe this faux front. No. The faux front will be okay. I like the idea of a lot of this kind of crazy concrete structure type stuff. It's just going to be big chunks of white. Okay. Going here. Yeah, we're definitely only going to finish these panels. And if I have to go a little bit past 2, even though that's a pretty hard and fast rule, I might just have to, because at minimum, that's what I need to accomplish tonight in order to kind of stay on track. Okay. And then we're going to get everything there and there. Got it. Because at minimum, I definitely need to finish this side of the street. This page I can't afford to have this page extend longer than the last panel, which I'll be able to relatively quickly do tomorrow, probably. Okay, so now we're going to do our blue for trim. Is that too wild? Let's see. That might be too wild. I like it for these. Kind of want to go back and maybe that's the only area that's going to have blue. And then I like it for the windows too in this section. So we're going to do our windows and our little like overhangs. That's what I view those as. Similarly, have to reselect this. Overhangs, windows. And we're getting there. We're just making steady and slow progress, but slow and steady wins the race? Question mark. Okay. So now we're going to do this. I drop this brownstone here, the kind of more standard brownstone. See if that gets, no, I don't like that. Maybe I do like that. No, I want this to be more of a dark stone. That would make more sense, that color scheme. Much more sense. Okay, so we're going to have this be deselecting this area. Get into some of that kind of weird detail there, and we're just going to take that whole chunk. And here, we're going to do the same exact thing, like select that entire chunk. Now I want to go back to that. Maybe it's darker. Yep. Here we go. How is everybody out there in chat land? I think we might have a potentially dead chat, and that's okay. It's like close to 2 in the morning, so I would not expect anything less. I hope everybody's doing okay out there, though. And if you're watching this after the fact, congratulations for getting this far. Okay, so this is going to be concrete up here. I like that being kind of concrete. This is going to be concrete up here. Okay, now we're going to do some more kind of wild stuff. Like, I know this is not all that thrilling to have like this whole section as like one kind of tone of color, but I kind of think it should be. And that's because that whole section looks like paved concrete section. And I hope that doesn't look like boring compared to the variety that's all over the page of this stuff. But I feel like that's a whole chunk of concrete, that whole section. Like for that to work, that has to extend out here, but only to the areas that are like clearly kind of almost castle-like in their structure. Oh. Castle-like structure here. Okay, there we go. Castle-like structure here. And here. Let's see how we're doing on that. Is that working? Yep. Now I'm going to have, I think I want the roof to be maybe bringing back some of that white. No. Some blue. Aha. That works so much better. Okay. And deselect that whole chunk. Okay. Now we're going to get into some more brownstone. Not brownstone. We're going to get into brick and concrete. Okay. And I'm going to deselect some of these window areas. I'm just going to go ahead and make the assumption that we're going to be pretty much in that territory. Okay. Window areas. I think that was that one of the selections? Yes. Okay. I had a good memory there. Where were the other window areas? Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Now we're going to do trim. trim here, trim here, trim here, trim here. Trim here, 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 and here. And I just realized I want to have a different color next to the for the trim next to, because I don't want like too much of that concrete right next to the big concrete slab. We're gonna have this trim, this trim. This trim. This trim. And this trim. We're going to do okay. Oh my gosh, you guys. Just under the wire. We are getting closer. Closer to done. One little section away from done. Okay. Now I want to see if that area is so flat. I wonder if it'll work being maybe for a section of it. Oh, come on. So close, you guys. So very, very close. I hope it makes sense why I'm being so meticulous about even in the very far background having just a little bit of color variation, because it does kind of help it. I think it helps it read and have like more variety in kind of the way that you're gonna read the story. But I also want it to feel like a similar neighborhood to other places. Wonder if the white is going to pull your eye back too far, or if maybe that'll work. You know what? I think that works. Oh my gosh, did we finish? We almost did. We have one other thing left to do. Our color hold on our lantern that we've gotten closer to. Save. Okay. You guys, we have a good 10 minutes left. I'm going to basically grab this area, I'm going to, I should have done my magenta trick, which you guys are probably familiar with right now. So again, once we have rain, and I might have to clean up this rain where it's like, I don't know if I like it. I like it splatting, but I don't know if I like that big blob of rain over his head. But I will say it is starting to kind of work. I might actually have to do a cleaner job on the rain around the horse, just to kind of give it a little semblance of like kind of popping in the foreground. But I am feeling pretty good about where we're at. We're going to go ahead and turn off the rain. That does start to feel a little bit more like it. We definitely need to clarify that that thing though a little bit. Okay, cool. Now we're going to say save. I want to deselect this eyeball too. Did not intend to do that. And now we're going to get into our Browning's residence again. So Browning's residence is going to have windows that are like this color. All of my windows on this panel. We have a good 10 minutes to kind of get a little further on this. So I'm kind of excited. Maybe we'll get a little further than I thought we would. Definitely not getting to finish though. And we might have to kind of clean up the rain a little bit, because the rain was working really well in grayscale, but now that I'm seeing it over color, it might be like a little too much. So I might have to redraw it a little bit tomorrow. But that's what we'll do, is like we're going to finish this page for sure on tomorrow's stream. I thought we would be there tonight. But much like a lot of comics, I find that these just take longer, you know. These things take much longer. Okay. I will say I'm feeling really good about this story, though. I know I've mentioned it before, but I'm really excited to kind of get further in the story. It's one of the things that's going to drive me to kind of keep with this, is how exciting the story is. I can't. It really is my story to either succeed at or fail pretty heavily at, because it's a good story. And it's a lot of fun, and it's going to be fun to get further and further on the pages of it, because that's a start. These windows right here are actually Elizabeth's windows. So you'll see when we get to the interior, if we have any shots that are from the other side, but this, behind this is the Chase Lounge, that and all the bookshelves and the fireplace and all of that stuff that we're going to see on the next page that we roughed out a couple streams back. And I'm really excited about getting moving on that page. Although I think to kind of keep the alternating tempo, tomorrow, if I can finish this on stream and still have time allotted left, it'd be fun to get the rough for page 7 done as well, so we can kind of keep that momentum, that movement. Can we at least get the windows before it's time to call it a night? That's what I'm curious about here. how far can we make this go? You almost have the windows of that residence. Oh my goodness, you guys. It's going to be hard to quit this page because when you're this far, it is tempting to like push it. But let's say I push it till 3 or something. Then tomorrow, I'm going to be wrecked and then I'll miss tomorrow. Because again, it's like you have to kind of balance these things with life as well. And I have a job in the morning that I have to function at, which is kind of important. I mean, not that my job is super important. It's just that it's important for me to function at it, I guess is my point. Like it's important to me to be able to do that. Because I like that job, you know? Okay, so here we go, and we've got this gonna be the door. I mean, it really is kind of a shame because once you get into a building that's relatively this large, and we've already made a lot of our color selections, this part in itself really shouldn't take like an incredibly long period of time to kind of make happen. And have like that. That's going to be the stairway. Well, stairwell check. Stairwell check. Maybe that inlet too. Inlet. Okay, let's see how much further. We've got a good 5 minutes, you guys. So close and yet so far away. Okay. Awning. I missed a window. Window. Window frames. Let's see here. Aha. Before we get into window frames, let's do a real clear one. That's going to be this section. Love it. Okay. Now we're going to do our white window frames. Those just come 2 out and 2 out in interior frames. So it actually starts, we'll have to work out the top of the building a little later. But at least we can get some of these done. Start with what we know, work our way out. Two in.
full. Okay, guys, we have 2 minutes. We'll see how far we can get here. 2 in. What the heck? Let's have it go all the way to the bottom. 2 in. Is this 2 in? Yeah, that's as close to 2 in as it can get, I think. Two in. And I think missed a window. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No. Well, wait. Let's deselect one window. I missed a few windows, guys. This one's supposed to be 2 in, and I think I missed one here. Just gonna go ahead and be bold there. We got a little far, but we didn't quite get there, guys. Okay. I need to do one more little step. Okay, well, let's do 2 in here. I do want to see how that was done up there. Yeah, okay. So that's 2 in up top here. We missed one of our windows in our search to hunt and rock this as quickly as possible. I missed a very valuable part, which is this window. Oh man. All right. Now we're down to the wire, guys. We have a few minutes, and if I could at least finish the windows, that'd be fun. At least on the Barrett's residence. It is kind of fun when you have a hard cutoff time, because it does force you to be like, oh man, I gotta like haul ass right now. See how far I can get. Man, I was really hoping. Okay. Really hoping to push it and get this done tonight. So keep that in mind when you're working on comics. It's like when you have a lot of buildings, it takes a long time to flat. Another thing that takes forever to flat are like big crowd scenes too. Buildings, crowd scenes. These things are all insanely time-consuming endeavors. All right, we got 4 minutes. What's kind of cool is at least I can get the base part here of the Browning's residence kind of signed off on. Let's see. I know we have some other stuff going on here too. Does that mean, oh my gosh, that's cool. I wasn't even looking at the tall building part. Here, I think we might have to actually go all the way out. Well, let's see. What do we do up top? Goes all the way out to the frame. Love it. So here we actually have it. Wait. Back up here. Okay, I get it. Here it's going to go all the way out to the edge. Oh my gosh. Definitely didn't want to do that. And for now, I'm just going to I'm going to save this as magenta for now. Oh no. Did we miss a window? I'm going to finish those windows. I got a minute. To finish that window. There's one window. There's a couple windows. No. Okay. Maybe we won't get all the windows, guys. I was really hoping to get the windows. But let's see. Let's see what we can do here. I literally have 1 minute. And then we got to wrap the stream. Okay. I'm going to do Shift F5. And can we do this in time? 1 minute left. Oh my gosh. Tell me we can do this in time. Okay, so I'm going to start doing my wrap-up talk while we're wrapping this up, because we did manage to finish the windows. As far as I'm concerned, this is a finished window. Look at that. Okay. We got to start. We're actually really close to done flatting the base level of the page. We're probably going to have to do some modifications of the rain a little bit when we're done flatting the page. Because there's just some weird things that didn't stand out as much on the grayscale. We're definitely going to have to just adjust some of the placement of the type and stuff like that, but we can do all of that tomorrow, very easily accomplishing the entirety of this page. So make sure if you're watching this, you tune in tomorrow. If you've been watching this and enjoying it or enjoying these streams, there's a couple ways you can help. One is order Jacob's Apartment. Ask your local comic shop to carry this when it comes out in June. And also you can pre-order it right now through basically any bookstore online. It's called Jacob's Apartment. It's the publisher's Graphic Mundi. And tell your friends about it. Tell your local bookstore and make sure that they have this on their radar for release in June. June 7th, I believe, is the release date. Similarly, go out there and buy 2 stories. It's my graphic novel about faith and mental illness. And with that being said, I forgot to switch to full cam. With that being said, thanks to everybody who's watched these streams. It's really encouraging. And I'll just go back to let's go back to this and look at the page we're accomplishing. It is looking really cool and very like Frog and Toadish. And I think I'm very excited about where it's going. All right, I'll see you guys on the next stream. And I hope you guys are having a creative day and have a good night or whatever time it is where you are. I hope you guys are doing well. And make sure you're subscribed. You've hit that bell so you get notifications when this is about to go live, because it's a lot of fun to be able to participate in chats and watch this as it's happening live. And then with that being said, I'll see you guys later tonight, aka tomorrow as well, when I'm working more on this page. And now I'm going to go sleep. Goodbye, you guys. Have a good one.